Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. It's not too often we get into our nitty gritty details of how we make money online because that's usually reserved for our school community. So, by the way, if you want to join our school community, we'd love to have you be a member. We have over 600 members, and each week we do free live streams over there so you can go attend and see some of the latest tools we're using to make money online. You can be a part of a great community. And then also you'll get 5 of our bonus episodes for free. So we'd love to have you be a member. Go check that out. But today we're going to talk about actually how we make money with a podcast, all the different revenue sources. And now is a better time than ever to start one because there's even more ways than ever to make money with a podcast. So let's get into it. Jaden, what's the secret sauce here to actually starting a podcast and having it be successful, get downloads? Because that's kind of like, do you want to share all the sauce? I don't know.
I'll share all the sauce.
Okay.
Why not?
All right.
Okay. So this is we haven't ever said this publicly, but how much money does this podcast make from ad revenue, specifically? And the answer is, in the last month, we made $1,057 from this podcast in ad revenue. And that's off of 24,000 downloads on Apple and Spotify. So there's more revenue or downloads or other things on like other platforms, shorts that get clipped, YouTube that we post this to. There's sponsorships, there's our school community that grows. So there's a lot of different elements of places that pay. But just from the Apple Podcast and Spotify ad revenue, in the last month, this made $1,000 from 24,000 downloads. Now, this can go up or down. It could be seasonal around Christmas. It really expands. And if you go get custom partnerships, I've had some recently with software companies where I'll charge them like $1,200, and then they can get shouted out in a handful of episodes. So you can do more. But yeah, just from the clean automatic ad revenue that we've got from rss.com, that's the distributor I'd recommend, by the way. That's $1,000. So,
and by the way, that's just like, that's not us doing ad reads or anything like that. That's literally just us sitting down here recording, and then when you go to publish it, it will automatically splice in the ads. We don't have to do any work. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jaden.
Yep, 100%. So yeah, there's nothing that comes on our end other than just recording, which is, so that's all from RSS. We've had, on RSS, it says we've had 200,000 all-time downloads. That's just on this platform, and I moved over to this platform a few months ago. So we were on Art19 before that, and Spotify for Creators before that. They all have different ad monetization kind of schemes. The best one I've tried, and I've also tried Acast. So Acast, Art19, Spotify for Creators, and RSS.com. I've tried them all, and right now I think RSS.com is the best bang for your buck, because a lot of other ones like Megaphone from Spotify, they'll charge you money to go on the platform. And sometimes when they charge money, plus the ads that they put on there, it's kind of a wash. So anyways, RSS is great. It's super cheap, and they actually pay you. So if you're going to do a podcast, that's what I recommend doing. Now, when it comes to actually starting a podcast, if this is something that is an interesting side hustle for you, I have actually started hundreds of podcasts, not 1,000 podcasts quite yet, but I've started hundreds of podcasts in tons of different niches. There's 3 of them that I host that's me, like this with Jamie, where every single week I'm talking. There's AI Applied that I host with Connor Grennan, and there's AI Chat that I do myself. So those are the 3 main ones I do. I actually have a couple other, I have one called AI and Faith, and then one called Learn of Christ, 2 like religious ones. But other than those, most of my podcasts that I have are actually 100% AI generated. And I know like a lot of people probably have like a bad taste in their mouth. They're like, oh no, AI generated. But guys, with 11 Labs V3, I am not joking. You cannot tell the difference. And it got to the point where my wife on like one of them, it was like really taking off, and it was in a niche that she was kind of interested. She's like, oh, maybe I'll like want to take over that podcast because it's making some money. And I was like, honestly, you're so busy. I don't want to have to ever like harass her to be like, oh, like you should record, because I'm kind of like in charge of all the podcasts and stuff. I know that's kind of where it end up. And she's like, yeah, it's true. And I'm like, and honestly, the AI voice that's on there sounds so good. So a lot of what it comes down to, if you're going to do an AI podcast, is just the voice itself. Like, how do you make the voice sound good? And by the way, if you want to get $6,000 in free tokens for 11 Labs, go join our school community and have a video explaining. But that's kind of one of the big things that I've went and done, and I've done this multiple times. So I actually have $12,000 in 11 Labs credits that are free, and I use this for all of my different AI generated podcasts, and a bunch of them are making are making some good money. I was scrolling through. I have some in the history, finance, fitness, sleep, um, religion. Those are probably my 5 biggest categories of completely AI generated content. And yeah, and they do like hundreds of thousands of downloads every month on all of that content. So it's actually a pretty good business. There's a couple secrets I would say to making those high quality. First is you need a really high quality script. So I usually use Claude for that. I don't use ChatGPT, although the new ChatGPT model is probably not bad, but it seems like Claude, since they pirated all the books in the world, they have a pretty good like tone for writing. So shout out to Claude for that. Um, but yeah, the actually I have a whole new category that I'm gonna test out that I think will be a really huge one, and that's language learning. So that's gonna be an interesting one that I'm gonna do as well, and I guarantee it will do just as many. It's interesting because like some people wouldn't want to share the categories that they're successfully working in, but basically what I'll say is go to the Apple podcast charts or Spotify podcast charts and look at all the top podcasts. And that's where people's interests are. Just look at the top categories. Education, like there's 100 categories of education. You could 100% start a podcast. Oh, actually, I started one. Now that I'm just remembering, I started one a couple weeks ago that is a kids Bible story podcast. And that one is blowing up and going really viral. But you could just basically look at all the top categories, look at what people are listening to, and make content around that. Look at like YouTube channels that are popular YouTube channels. If it's something that you're interested in, fantastic. But even if it's not, you can use AI to help you write the scripts. 11 Labs to generate the audio. 11 Labs, my only advice is that you have to use V3 on 11 Labs. It's their newest like voice overlay, and it makes it so that they sound human. There's like emotion and like pauses and stuff in it. If you use their older models, it sounds bad. So yeah, and on the school community, we've made a bunch of videos on how to actually do this. So it's $20 a month, and I'll tell you how to get $6,000 for free. So if you're interested in this side hustle, definitely join our school community and go check that out.
That's a pretty good value there.
It's a good value. Like I'm not trying to, overly sell, but like the ROI on $6,000 for $20 is pretty sweet. And then, all of these podcasts are actually making money. But I don't know, Jamie, what are your thoughts on the podcast?
Yeah, so yeah, I love the AI podcast strategy, and I think it's great. And basically, what you could do also is use these to pick winners. And did you already touch on that, or am I repeating myself?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah. So like, if you want to start a real podcast and make like a video podcast like this, which later in the episode we're going to talk about why you might want to do that. But you would basically, some of your strategy goes into like testing out different keywords for podcast titles, right? Is that part of it as well before you
Yes.
even sit down and
Yep.
record?
So the way that this podcast was actually started inspired a strategy that I now completely automate with AI. But this podcast, when it originally started, was one of 10 different podcasts that I had where I would just repost content from my main AI chat podcast. I just reposted it onto here. I had 10 podcasts and I gave them all different names. One was called Artificial Intelligence. One was called the AI podcast. One was called OpenAI. This podcast, I think, actually used to be called OpenAI. But, for obvious trademark reasons, we changed the name once Jamie came on board. But that's how I probably got my first, I don't know, maybe like 100,000 downloads on this podcast. Maybe it might have been 250,000 downloads by the time Jamie came on. It was just reposted with the AI, with the OpenAI name. So that was a strategy I used, but I would make 20 different podcasts. I'd do reposts. Now, if you haven't even started a podcast, because at that point I had like hundreds of episodes in a catalog, so it was easy to kind of put them out on all of those different episodes. How I would start today I would go to 11 Labs and I would generate 10 different AI generated episodes in whatever niche or industry you're in. And if this is if you're like going to seriously take on this podcast as yourself, and I would post those 10 episodes. You can also manually record them if you want, or you could record or you can get AI to do like 100 if you want to scale it up and do a bigger test, but 10 is usually good. I'd make 10 different names, 10 different episodes, post the same 10 episodes on all 10, change the titles and descriptions so they don't look like literally identical, but it's the same content. And then look at which of the 10 organically gets the most reach. And by the way, everything on this podcast and everything on all of them that I've done, 0 ads, 0 shout outs, 0 anything, 100% organic algorithm, mostly from Apple Podcasts. So what I would do, pick whichever of those 10 performs the best organically, and then just double down on that and just take it over. So that's like, I mean, basically what we did here, except it wasn't AI back when we started, it was my actual voice. But as soon as we found the winner of the 10, which was that one, we changed the name, although you could keep the name if it was not, didn't have a trademark term in it. I do not recommend doing the trademark term, everyone, by the way. I told a friend to do
Bad
that
idea.
a
Bad
while
idea.
back, and all of his podcasts got banned and deleted. So don't use trademark terms. That was a bad black hat thing I did in the past. So yeah, don't do that. And sorry, bro, he still doesn't do podcasts to this day. So I burned him on that one. So don't do it trademarked. I actually told him not to, but whatever. Don't do trademark terms, and then pick the winner and double down. You can even change the name oftentimes, but if you want people to kind of recognize it, I usually keep the name. So pick something that's good. And full disclosure, in case you guys are curious, one of my podcasts that I had at the time, I had two. One was called Artificial Intelligence, and I still to this day repost my main show's analytics on this one show. And it did 6,000 or 7,000 downloads in the last 30 days and made me about $250. So it
Nice.
was one of the original 10. I've since spun up a lot more, but one of the original 10. And then I have another one, which is called the AI podcast. And that one did 15,000 downloads in the last 30 days and made me
Wow.
$524. So,
That's
and those are
crazy.
literally just reposting like the episodes that I'm already publishing on my
Wow.
main show. And sometimes I'll segment them. Like I have one called like AI marketing. And so if it's a marketing show, I'll put the marketing shows on there, or like AI investing, and I'll put like any ones that have to do with investing. So you can do like subnets basically of like categories that you talk about on your podcast. If you're really trying to get like squeeze all the juice out of the content that you're currently creating. With AI, I think it's less important. You can kind of just make it bespoke to every episode. But these are the golden strategies you won't find anywhere else on how to grow and scale podcasting and make money with podcasting.
Yeah, and I think we're running out of time for this episode, but there's lots of other ways besides just ad revenue that you can make money with a podcast, especially with AI nowadays. So you're really just you're creating an asset that can be used in the future as well when you're creating content. So there's lots of reasons to do one. Last question I have for you, Jaden, and then we should probably sign off. But do different categories of podcasts receive different amounts of ad revenue, similar to YouTube, where like if you made a podcast about Fortnite, you would probably get hardly any money per thousand views, where AI, finance, some of those categories get paid more. Is that true, or is it not quite the same?
I haven't found that to be super the case. So on rss.com, it feels like they just have like sponsors and they'll just kind of run across everything generically. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been seeing it lately. But I know it can get segmented, it can get targeted. It's probably, like a good rule of thumb would be like, look at what YouTube does and maybe finance makes more money. But honestly, I think most of my categories like fitness, finance, history absolutely crushes, guys. I'm not even
Really?
afraid to tell you guys about that niche because it's like unlimited and you guys can already go see all the top history podcasts. The other cool thing about history and like actually almost all the topics I mentioned other than news. So news is the annoying category because whatever we talk about today isn't going to be relevant tomorrow, except for this episode is going to be relevant forever.
Yeah.
Because it's just evergreen content. So there should be a better way for us to monetize this or to publish this maybe. But yeah, if it's news content, it dies in a couple days. But if it's something where it's like, how to set up a Roth IRA and you're in like a finance, that
Yeah.
people could listen to it forever. And so that's a kind of a better strategy for long-term sustainability on the podcast.
Nice. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Hey, if you guys got any value out of this episode, be sure to leave us a rating or review wherever you're listening. Those really mean a lot to us and help us reach more people. And again, check out the AI Hustle School community. You won't regret it. It's a great place to be and learn how to use some of these tools and make money in a real way using AI. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.